Well, hello and welcome to the Healthy Living Podcast, brought to you by me stumbling over my tongue in Willow Creek Springs. Today, I have with me again Richard McCuen and with Yellow Footprint Fitness and the PTSD program and Willow Creek Springs and Gardens of Hope. Lord knows our lives are becoming intertwined. This is a podcast that is about healthy living and everything that might be connected to it. I think it's the one thing that we all have in common is we want to live healthy, right? We want to live a long life. We want to experience the best life has to offer. So Richard, how are you doing today?
Good. We started this morning, probably about 4:30 this morning. The phone just started beeping and going off. So we decided to get up and get our early morning workout because the way the day was going to go, we wouldn't have time later. And you know how that goes later on in the day. You're already tired and the day's over, and then you still have to, make time for yourself. That's usually whenever you don't make time for yourself, you put it off, and then that creates the habit, and that's what you want to break is
You know,
that.
there's something about an early morning workout too that I think is powerful. Like I get up in the morning, my workout means I'm out working in the yard. That's a workout for me. So for example, this morning, like I've got some people coming over to tour the gardens today. And of course my wife gets all wigged out, got to have everything cleaned up and put things right.
No
And
checklist.
yeah. So it's like, it's like when the sergeant comes to inspect the barracks, everybody's got to have your cots all tight and
Yeah.
everything has to be right because they're going to come check. Well, it's like that too. You want to always put your best foot forward. But I had blown the place down last night, so in my eyes everything's tidy, but there's always some things that I need to work on. But also, as we're getting into summer, my creek levels are going down and I have fish in my creek and I have to keep digging the sand out so that the water is there for my fishes. I have this built-in responsibility that says, you're going to throw sand today. And so that's my workout is I get to throw sand. And, I like that one post you made with you digging a hole in the sand. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I do mountain climbers and I dig with my hands too.
Uh-huh.
I did the push-ups and I just ended up in a fighting hole. So
I love it. I love it.
it was fun.
There's something to me about getting up early and strapping that light on and getting outside in the morning. This morning, while I was walking around, sort of evaluating what I was going to do, I had a great experience, something I've never had before. I walked up and there was an owl that was sitting on the ground, a big barn owl down by the creek. And I think he must have been getting some water, maybe eating something. I don't know.
That's
But I
awesome.
walked up on him and he flew off. But I've never seen, like, I see owls a lot, but usually it's at night and they're off in the trees. But this guy was sitting on the ground and he kind of looked at me. He was like, all right, I got to go. And that was really great. Like that kind of stuff would only happen, at 5 o'clock in the morning. That stuff never happens, at
Right.
3 in the afternoon.
Exactly. And one of the I think one of the things that sparked the program, other than just me posting it, because at the time I was going through healing myself, so it was like a connection with everyone else, making, post what I did daily. And that's pretty much like the group that I got connected to. It's a SEAL Grinder PT. It's run by a former Navy SEAL, Brad McCloud. And we got connected, in that correlation of, the mindset on me doing the push-ups. So once connected, um, it was pretty much like mentally how things I thought about and put into the workout. And pretty much like if you think of daily life, we go to work, we work for somebody else, we're on a computer, everything's, and we rely on our tools at work to take care of us. Like say for instance, a computer, it's every time you access it, it pulls files in different directions and things like that, just like your thoughts during the day. It's being pulled in different directions all day long. And your mind is in back in that nice compressed, you know, clear thought process that it starts in the morning, because all the files and everything are having to be shot everywhere, to correlate and function during the day. So when the computer goes down, we have to defrag it, is what we're taught. And what
Right.
it does is it puts everything, it takes all the trash out, puts every file back into its original form so that it can function and run smooth. So
Right.
that's one thing we don't do to ourselves. And that's part of like what the push-ups do, is it helps restore the protein in the brain. Which is the BDNF, is the basic neurotrophic neural factor, I think it's what it's called.
Okay.
And when your cortisol levels and serotonin levels are low, your protein from the pituitary gland isn't functioning at its normal levels to produce all the hormones. So therefore, you have a what do you call it? A deficiency in your endocannabinoid system. So how do you do that? You defrag your mind, and that's pretty much what push-ups do. Is it defrags the entire body, your mind,
Say
body,
so.
soul. So I created, defrag your mind, and it was put into the 1,000 push-up program. We had T-shirts that were going pretty good, but that's just like the different mindset, and that's how it connected other people. Was like, you're sitting there scrolling, and something get your attention, and it's because of the mindset somebody else has. You bring that vibration to the same level, and then you start to function. So the mindset I had in healing, and the programs and things that I created during my time of struggling like everyone else, it created that mindset for someone else to follow. So that's pretty much where we are. Is we need to defrag ourselves so that we can connect our higher chakras, and ascend upwards instead of downwards. And I think that's the whole process of learning it. Even if you learn something new, it could be done on the same platform, but it's a different mindset. So you raise to a higher level of vibration, and that disappears. It has no platform for it to lay on anymore. So therefore, you're neurologically, the BDNF in your brain has restored to a level to where it can function clear. So
It's interesting about that whole concept. I think there's a lot of ways to accomplish what you're talking about, that defragging. And part of it is involved in sleep. When you get the right kind of sleep, your body has what's called a lymphatic system, and that's where that only happens, though, number one, if you haven't eaten right before you go to sleep, which so many of us do, and it wrecks our whole lymphatic system because it causes your body to be busy doing other stuff like digesting.
24/7.
Yeah, and but what that does is it actually washes away the amyloid plaque that builds up, and it does like what you're talking about. It kind of resets everything, and it starts your morning clean. Most people don't get the right sleep to activate that. Another thing people do is meditation and breathing work. Some people say they get that experience from running. I know years ago when I was a kid, I used to run miles and before I busted my leg. And I can remember I get in a spot, after about a mile or two, and you get in a zone where you're breathing right and you're just moving, and like you don't feel the pain of it, and you just feel the emotion, and you get like what you're saying. And I could see when you get your push-ups into a rhythm where you're able to do enough of them. Like most people, I suspect in the beginning, it's just a struggle to get those whatever they can do done. And there's not a lot of period of time that you're doing it because you're weak and you're getting stronger. But once you get yourself to a point where you're able to snap out those sets, and all of a sudden now you can get into that place where you can go, oh wow, there's a place here that I couldn't get to, but now I'm here.
yes, exactly. And pretty much, I wanted to break it down to where a level to anyone, and whether they're struggling from an injury, or just struggling with life, or just they want to get better in shape, just anyone can connect to the program. And how do you get that level? So taking away the mindset of 1,000, it's that's pretty much like a veteran type program because, we've gone through hell and back. So we know how to pretty much participate within that area. So there's slow twitch muscles, fibers, and large twitch. Large twitch, your chest, your thighs, things like that. Your slow twitch muscles are what connect all the muscle fibers and everything from the bone to the muscles and everything so that they can function. So if you're weak in an area, say you're bench pressing and you start shaking, you're not weak. It's just the slow twitch muscles that connect everything are weak and they're not able to sustain the larger weight on top of the muscle. So how do you correct that? It starts with your brain. And how do you do that? It's slow increments. You don't want to do a full repetition. You want to do a half repetition so the muscle is always under tension. Well, you can do the same thing in a push up. Is you always push your brain, and push up program, it's always going to be under tension. So the body is going to shake. It's going to want to give up because it can't keep up with the mind. So we want to break it down to where, because studies have been done in universities across the world, we've researched everything. You can do too, which is one of the things. Anything I say or do, I always say, research.
Absolutely.
Somebody else's word, just because they're a star or something like that. Mike
We're
Tyson.
all made out of the same stuff, right? But we're all made out of stardust, so there is that.
Exactly. We all have that within ourselves.
I always encourage, though, anybody who's listening to any guest on this show or me or anybody is, verify for yourself, double check. Hopefully you're listening to this and you're hearing multiple people resonating with a concept that says, oh, wow, this is coming from another point of view, but I keep hearing that same sort of message. That's the truth that I'm hoping to tap into through this show. But always double check. And if you find something different, bring it to us. Let us know, because, we just want to know the truth, really.
Yeah. And really the truth, especially nowadays, pretty much mental health has taken a drastic decline instead of an advance in, where we are, as smart as we are. I think that everyone is struggling. And when you go to a doctor, 20 years ago, you used to be able to walk into a doctor and would listen to you, what's going on, and without a prescription would be able to take care of you.
Right.
Was the one-on-one interaction, and it isn't now. It's replaced with pharmaceutical medications, and that's what they're doing to everyone, and that changes you here.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's what they wanted to do to me, is nothing but pills. I break it down. They saw the x-rays. I mean, I could post the pictures. It's just crazy that, medical treatment that I had to go through, for doing my job,
Right.
And that pretty much put the platform for everyone, because, I wasn't in the military. I was a civilian, my PTSD, my battlefield was on the job as a law enforcement officer, and whenever that shut down and I needed the help, there was no hand to grab me up out of that hellhole.
Nobody had your back.
Exactly. And which, is okay,
Hey,
and
you're here now. That's what matters, right? I mean, we all got to this place through our own journey, and it has to do with choices we made, situations that happened, sometimes just dumb luck. Sometimes shit just falls out of the sky and lands on you. But we're here, and that's the thing that I think it's so important to remember. Like, every day you make a choice to do whatever it is you choose. Like today, I decided to wake up at 4:15 in the morning and get up and get myself ready. And I was out there by 4:45 outside with the shovel in my hand. I chose that today. Some days I wake up and I'm like, I'm not going to do this today. I'm just going to sleep. And I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I feel extra rested. And I say, well, my body didn't want to do that today, so I listened to it. And other times I push through it and I say, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyways. And each of those pathways take you to a different place. And there's a different lesson at each of those places. They all can be valuable. It's just what we do with it. And I think that your program here exemplifies that, because every day you're going to make a choice to follow this program or not. You're going to make a choice to advance in this program or not. You're going to make a choice. And that in itself the act of making good choices, that is, I believe, as powerful as the actual motion of those push-ups, because first you have to decide to do them. And once you decide to do them, then you just do them. And I think it's the deciding part's harder in a lot of ways for a lot of people than the actual doing. And I think you build up a mental strength every time you decide the right thing, every time you stick to what you said you were going to do, every time you build integrity. It's just like working out. And it's just like life too. You screw up one time and it sets you back a month. I mean, it's just like it takes you every single day to build it, one day to throw it all back.
Yes, exactly. So how we wanted to do is to break it down for everyone so that everyone can, start, like I said, I didn't just was able to do push-ups just right off the get-go. With my injury, I had to start on my knees, basically crawl, walk and then run. So how do you break that down in the program is 3 phases. So we're going to work on your slow twitch muscles first to build the large twitch muscles so that they intertwine and work together. How do you do that? Is you start in slow increments. So if you want to start the program, it starts with you just start and do as many push-ups as you can. If you got to do it against a wall, like behind you, just against the wall, push your feet out to where you can push, or on your knees, however you got to do, you can start to do them. That's your privacy. How you got to start. And do your
Let
plan.
me ask you this, because I'm planning on starting this program, and I'm trying to get myself in a place where I know the road I'm going on before I start it, because I don't want to walk into unknown and going, so the question is, okay, I can do push-ups, I can do all the way down, all the way up, I can do all the way down, all the way up with a vest on, I can do whatever. I can do so many. There's I don't know what number it is today. There's been days when I could knock out 50 in a punch, and other days, I can do 100 with a vest on. But other days I can do 10, and I'm just like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
The question is, just assuming that I'm starting from a fairly low point, not a lot of strength, whether I do or don't, doesn't matter. I don't know. Would you say it's easier or better to start out from a softer position and see how many you can do, or to start out from the hardest position and see how many you can do first?
Well, if you can do one, the goal is for anyone that wants to start, including yourself, is the goal is to be able to push yourself till you can do at least 40 push-ups in a row. Because if the statistics say that if you could do 40 push-ups in a row, you're 96% less chance of having any cardiovascular disease, heart disease, any type of brain disease like Alzheimer's, things like that. So think about that. That's 40 push-ups. Or you can think of, and a different number is if you're trying to get to the gym, I got to do 40 push-ups or get to it. Play with that number, because 4% of your day, when you wake up to sundown, you go to bed, 4% of your day is only 1 hour. So 4% of that day should be you, because the rest of the day is being snatched away from you by everybody else. So if you don't give yourself that 4%, that's where you're at, is because you're not making time for yourself. We have to make time for ourselves. We have to be able to work on ourselves with no help. You can cut your finger and look at it and it's going to heal itself. The body is teaching you, I can heal my own self. So we need to tell the brain that, reteach the brain that. And so 40, just worry about 40 push-ups. Don't worry about 1,000. That's beast mode, Navy SEAL status, that's just, that's a level that is approachable, achievable. We don't want to start there. We want to start at a basic level, just like basic training. How do we learn that level? You start with the basics, with what works. And that is just however you can do them on your knees, you can do them against the wall, but build till you can do 40. Why? Because that's going to rebuild your limbic system. It's going to refire your endocannabinoid system to fire correctly and rebuild your BDNF in your protein in your brain, which if I'm correct, then if you can do 40 push-ups, the 96th percentile of not having any cardiovascular disease, it also stops the brain from aging and being able to heal to make new growth.
So would
think
you
about just
say,
40 push-ups, what it can do here.
so would you say if let's just say I wake up tomorrow morning and say, okay, I'm going to snap out 40, and I get down and I got to 35 and I'm start quivering and shaking, then do I sit and wait and rest for a couple minutes and then snap out the other 5? Or
So like your 40 push-ups, that's your goal. That's the 1,000, 1 to 1,000,
right,
you know, the 4, you know. So you got to go from 1 push-up to 40. That's your workout. So however in your mind you want to build your ladder,
okay,
into
that's
that.
up to you then, really.
Right. It's up to the individual, you know. The program is just like a layout, you know, like you can open a muscle and fitness magazine or a workout magazine, and these big old guys, they post their workouts.
Right.
You're not going to be able to say, oh, I'm going to write that down, I'm going to go to the gym and do that.
Right.
No,
Everybody's unique. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to build to that. So that's how I used to do it when I was little, is how do I get, you know, to that mentality, to where my body could show that I can handle anything, is
So
I take it and break it down so that it works for me.
is there a period of time that's best? Like, say somebody's starting out and they haven't done a push-up since they were in high school, and now they're, you know, a little overweight and they're a little flabby. They've been sitting behind a desk for too long, and they get down and they do 4 push-ups, and they're like, "Oh, geez, I'm weak. I suck. I can only do 4 push-ups." And then, so you did 4 push-ups. How long? Like, is there a window, or do you give yourself all day to hit that 40, or do you? What's your thoughts?
Yeah. When I first started I would break it down to the 1,000, and I would do some in the morning, some in the evening, you know, break it into 2 categories instead of full 1,000, you
And
know.
you rest during the day.
Right, because I'm also having to deal with pain and discomfort, and you know, everything from being injured and not doing anything. It's just like you're just, the first day you're back to working out, the next day you're gonna be really sore. Why? Because you want to push yourself and you're over exerting your muscles, and they're not used to that, so they make you pay for it the next day. So don't be worried about the soreness it's going to create in any workout, because that's showing you that then your body wants
doing something. If you
yeah,
get sore,
it's
that
saying,
means
okay, now, yeah, that's
it's working.
that's
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
oh, I
Sore
like
is
this.
good. Yeah.
You know, and that's the discomfort, is motivation, you know. Okay,
Well, you know, there's a. I think it's endorphins of some kind that get released when you get sore. Because I know that anytime you do something that makes you sore, when you're sore the next day or whenever, then hours later, it feels good to feel sore. Like there's
yeah,
a feeling of accomplishment that says, oh, I'm sore. That means I'm probably going to be a little stronger in a couple of days, you know?
it's like a runner's high.
Right.
Yeah, you end up feeling overwhelmed with just I think it's your cortisol levels are balanced, and it releases the hormone into your bloodstream. I think it's your cortisol levels from either exercise or running. I know that the pituitary gland is more active because it has to produce more hormones through the bloodstream for all your other organs and that. So whenever you're out of breath, and that's another thing we want to cover, is a lot of people, even top bodybuilders or anybody I've seen, one thing, my injury with my back, you know, it curves pretty much like a question mark, you know, from here goes this way and down. So how did I straighten that? You know, what it was individual, I worked on the other side so that it would pull it and balance it. And that's where in the mind needed to have the CBD and the right ingredients to where I can have my plan and be able to work it. So working through the discomfort, that's where you want to stay. As long as you feel a little discomfort, you're building, you're climbing. So that's the difference between pain and discomfort. You know, a little cut on your finger, an ow, that's just discomfort. A lot of people associate that with pain and they stop, they
Yeah,
give up.
yeah.
Well, any healing, you're going to have to go through pain, and any success is followed by understanding the pain.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I've broken bones. I've had some injuries that were painful, and when you go into shock, then that's your body going, okay, that's pain, and we're not going to really deal with that right now. So we're just going to turn you off for a second. And
Yeah.
I've had those things happen a few times. And then when you're going through the healing process, that's when the soreness and the discomfort really comes in. Like when your body's putting itself back together, it's not particularly pleasant. It starts itching deep inside and gets real sore and tender and all of these things. And like you say, it's discomfort. The pain is when you can't crawl yourself up to the house because you just blew out your knees and ankles. That's a different kind of thing. So I think it's important to get yourself to that discomfort spot. Has anybody, like, I think with push-ups, it's a pretty safe exercise. Like, it's not like people get injured sometimes lifting weights and doing crazy things, doing these extreme things where they're, making big motions with heavy weights, and you can slip and twist and break something fairly easily, I would think. Even going through military obstacle courses, things like that, you could probably get hurt pretty easily just making bad motions. But push-ups, I think, are a fairly safe exercise in the sense of, aside from just repetition, which you've experienced, wearing your joints out, which can happen. Yeah. But aside from that, I mean, it's not like you're probably not going to slip a disc or injure yourself because of a bad push-up.
No, push-ups are anybody can do. A little child to somebody that's 80 years old. Anyone could do a one push-up, and if you do one push-up, then you can do another. Why? Right. Because your body and mind just showed you, oh, we can do this. You just did it. You push yourself past that unknown. I don't know, can I do this? And then you do a push-up and you go, oh, I just did one. Be proud of that. Why? Because that's where you build the next level. It's just like most of veterans, I know a lot of veterans that I've talked to in the past, some of the things that they've told me is like they'll spend like an hour or 2 hours or even sometimes all day long just inside the house getting ready, dressed, just to go out, just to go to the store, and then get the courage to do it, grab that door and just shut it and say nah. And they've spent their entire day just to get outside the door. So how you break that mentality, and that's how it breaks it down, is it clears your mind, your thought process, because whenever you do anything that's high intensity level, your brain can't concentrate on anything else. Just like if it has an injury, your body and brain isn't thinking about it's got to go to work, or my boss is going to be late, mad at me because I'm late, for lunch. No, you're injured, and that's the only focus.
Right.
You do one thing.
You don't have anything for anybody else if you don't have yourself together. So you gotta,
exactly.
If you're broken, you got to make sure you get yourself patched up before you go and try to carry somebody else's jug of water.
Exactly. So there's 5 different ways to start to build your 40. And the reason why you want to do them in different positions, different ways. Play with your mind. It's like biohacking. What we talked about last time, Joe. Like, a lot of athletes are, doing stuff like that, is biohacking and things, because it regenerates new growth into the brain,
right,
and just the body. Well, how do you do that with push-ups? Well, it basically, say all the blood and everything isn't flowing really good through your body, you can't really breathe, and then all of a sudden everything shuts down. And then what do? Break those paddles out and they shock you. What it does is it stimulates an electrical volt all through your system, and then it gives it that charge back to the level it needs to function. Well, it's the same thing with the brain. Once you're doing intensity, you put the intensity level to it, it starts to change the BDNF factors in your brain to where it starts reproducing. It stops aging. So the slow twitch muscles are where help you get up off the ground, hold your balance, and especially elderly people, that's where you get injured the most, is just putting a dish in the dishwasher, and you lean over and all of a sudden, boom, you're falling, you break your hip, things like that. So doing the different positionings teach you to put your body in any position and your mind. So it's close grip. You want shoulder width,
Close grip,
shoulder width, and then you want to turn your thumbs outward, which pushes your elbows out.
This way?
Shoulder width. Yeah. So your shoulder width, and then you take your thumbs and move them towards your navel.
Like that.
Like that. And your shoulders are outward. So your shoulders are out when you're pushing down.
So when you're pushing up close, your thumbs are pretty much in line.
Right. And you want to put so it's comfortable for your wrist, you don't have to put them, like a diamond, but just put them close together.
Okay, so they're slightly pointing towards each other.
Right. So you have your close, your regular, which is shoulder width.
Okay, and the regular shoulder width is also sort of slightly pointing towards each other.
A little, just a little bit. And
your thumbs are just a little bit. Your thumbs are a little bit off of straight across.
Correct.
Just a little.
The reason why I say that is because of the positioning that it puts your body in that triangle, so that in between here and your spine, it's not working. All of it is secure and stable. So you have a foundation pretty much.
Okay.
Once you keep your foundation, your back straight, that's what it does. Your elbows pushed out as it aligns your spine instead of being crunched. So a lot of people, they're crunched and their back is bowed. And
so when you're sitting in that sort of plank position, you want to make sure your spine's nice and straight.
Right. Like a plank position. Your feet are together, so you're balancing on your toes and your hands. So so if that's hard for you, use your knees.
You want your back to be kind of straight. You don't want to be all bowed up and down like like a seesaw.
So, and whenever you're not used to doing push-ups, even though you feel like your back is straight, it's still going to bow.
Of course.
It's keeping your diaphragm tight in your positioning. So your hands, where you position your shoulders, is where it's going to depend on the balance and stability of your spine.
Okay. So you got one in close, you got one shoulder, and then you got one.
Yeah, it's still so it's close grip, shoulder width, and then you're going to turn your elbows slightly out so that.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
And you'll do some.
So there's three.
Then you do wide. All you're going to do from shoulder is you're going to take your hand one width out.
Okay, so it's just
right.
And then 6 inches on either side out.
Correct.
5 inches, whatever.
And then the fifth is your hands are straight outward.
Whoa.
And you're going, and if that is hard, you can just take your hands to where they're.
This is as far as you can go. Okay.
And you can push.
No, wait, is it outward this way?
So you have close this way, you're out, and then you have wide. And then all you're going to do is turn your hands the opposite way.
So your elbows are curling in. Hang on, I'm going to see how that works. Oh, okay, I can see it. Whoa. All right, I got you.
And you can only do, if you can't go all the way down to a full compressed movement, just do it half.
Okay. In
fact, work on just half.
So would it be better, let's say I set out to do 40 and I realize at 20 that I'm not going to get to 40. So would you say do as many as you can all the way, and then when you realize you're not going to do it, cut it to half and get to that 40? Or would you just say just do as many as you can and push it as hard as you can and get close to it?
Well, if you do 2 push-ups as a set, do 20 sets.
Got it.
That's your 40. Got it.
Okay, fair enough.
So play with your mind, like you just said. What if I start and I get to 20 and I don't have anything else? I'm burnt out.
Just stop and do another set of 20.
You knew climbing that mountain, it didn't work. That battle plan didn't work. Okay, regroup. How do I
do a little more switchbacks? Yeah.
Right. So yeah, you're gonna have to play that game in your mind.
Okay, you figure it out. Once you do it a few times, you'll figure out where you're at, and then usually you don't slip back. You only move forward. Generally, it's been my experience. Like unless you get hurt or something, you generally don't. Once if you hit 40, probably the next time you do it, you can hit 40 again and probably do more. Exactly. So we're running out of time, but I'm really enjoying this, and I want to sort of get this to a spot where I'm preparing myself to begin this journey here. And so you would say, like, day one you do this way, day two you do this way, day three, day four, and day five. So you're going to do all the ways in 5 different days, right?
Yeah, you probably won't be able to do all the positions, but work through those 5. Just which ones work for you. Oh, this one's easy. Oh, this one really sucks.
So you want to do the one that really sucks, though, right?
Just put it in the back, as an alternate route. Okay, I know these 3 out of the 5 work, so I'm going to build my 40 off these 3.
Oh, okay. So you're just figuring it out. Which one?
And those other 2 will come into a factor by concentrating on what works.
So you wouldn't think, like, for me, I would always think that the one that's the hardest is probably the one I should do, because that's the one that obviously I have a weakness to.
You always think the hardest one is never the last one. It's always the first one.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
Anything, it's always the first step.
Okay, good. We're thinking the same then. Yeah.
So once you get past that one, I think I don't have 40 or 39. I got 3 or 4 left.
Right.
So play the numbers small in your head. Why? Because you control things better. When you start thinking too big, and especially if you have a big project at work or something, all this heat just got dumped on you. You're like, man, how am I going to build this battle plan, so that this is a success? Well, you got to start with yourself first before you can carry that into your business. Because if you don't have that within yourself, how's the workflow?
Now, before we end
how you are mentally.
I get it. So before we end this, we're stretching long, and I have a meeting coming up that I got to get to, but this is, I'm really getting into this. So no, but I want to just throw out a couple of words, and maybe you give me a short answer, and then we'll dig into it more on the next time. In most workouts, you have consecutive days and you have rest days. Is this something where you take a day off, or do you just do this every day no matter what? Well,
yes. If you're doing any type of program, you want to follow, the program guidelines, so it's just like, if you hold yourself accountable and you want to go to boot camp or join the military, you can't go there and say, okay, well, I just want to do this on weekends,
Yeah, boot camp doesn't have days off.
Yeah. So you do the program and you graduate the program, then you can decide, I want to do this, I want to run 1 day a week, instead of every day.
So you're doing this every day, no matter what.
Right. So when until you can achieve that goal of your 40, then you can rest and give yourself some rest days.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so first thing is hit this one mark, and then you can decide, okay, I'm going to take a day off, and then I'm going to set my next mark.
So say like somebody just got out of the military and they're looking for something to keep them mentally, at the same level, so they don't start deteriorating. Mm-hmm. And they come across, say, oh, that's 1,000 push-ups, I'm going to start doing that program. And they start doing it off the bat. That's works for them. But how do you get to that mentality is you have to hold. So if, man, I can only do 2 push-ups a day.
Right.
Okay, well, that's your 2 push-ups. The next day, I'm going to do 4. You don't think about that too, because your body and everything.
Right. You've already been there. Right.
Yeah. So you're already at that point.
Got it.
Focus about it.
All right.
What's coming next? So
I like it.
What I do with the 40 is play around with the different positions, what's good for you, to where it can help you achieve, but you need to get to your 1,000.
I like it. All right. The final question that I have, and again, just a short, we'll get deeper into it. But I remember in listening to David Goggins' story about when he was stuck on this guy was a pull-up monster, and he did these, world record pull-ups, but he kept hitting these walls and these barriers, and he kept injuring himself. And then finally, towards the end of this book, he realized he discovered after he was in the hospital for a long time, he couldn't get out of it, that stretching fixed a lot of the problems. What are your thoughts on stretching?
Yes, stretching is very key. I think it's one of the things that's helped, realign, so that I can be, straight again. And
Okay.
I use a inversion table.
I do too. I love it.
And yeah, it pretty much straightened my hips, back to where, because of my spine being all curved, it pretty much aligned things to where, my hands and everything are, straight. I can use, cable bars and everything instead of
Nice.
isolation movements. So I would say, yeah, things like that would end up working.
All right, Richard, I got to cut this one. I'm going to give you the final, your parting shot here. Tell us how to get a hold of you. And this is starting to get interesting. It's always been interesting, but I'm starting to dig into it.
Well, we really want to help everyone, and start, with how you can get to that veteran level. Everyone can get to that level, and achieve the goals that they want. It's align yourself with the right people that have the right mindset to help you get there. I think we're one of the ones and that can help you do that and make you understand yourself, internally a little bit more, so that you can function better in the world and not have to worry about the world. So you can reach out at I Wish I Had CBD or Yellow Footprint Fitness on Facebook or Instagram. My contact information is in there. So let's start the journey and we can heal together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Richard. It's always a pleasure, and we'll talk soon.
Yes,
my guess is if we can do this tomorrow, I want to do it again.
Oh yeah, and we got.
All right, I love it.
There we go.
I'm right there with you.
on the back.
I love it.
We're doing things good. So
all right, brother.
Take care, Joe. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. This has been the Healthy Living Podcast, brought to you by Willow Creek Springs.
And go to our website.
Absolutely.